Greetings once more, YouTube. Today, I am here to give you a recap video. That's right, I've been starting a Pathfinder sessions with a bunch of friends I have online. Now, they can hail from multiple different regions of the world. I mean, I've got multiple people from America, someone from even Austria. So, let's get started. Now, our first adventure involved me running from the beginner's box set for Pathfinder. I was keeping the rules simple because everyone here was new to the system, so wasn't going to be overboard with it. Group consists of a dwarf fighter who goes by the name of Ecolo, a human rogue by the name of Kiara, a cleric, human again, by the name of Rodigan. He's a cleric of Sarene, the goddess of the sun, more commonly known as the Dawnflower in Pathfinder. And finally, a half-elf magus by the name of Blade. They started the adventure introducing themselves to each other and discussing why they were here. Of course, they were here to deal with Black Fang. I won't go into detail on what Black Fang is, because that'd be spoiler for anyone who does decide to run the Beginner's Box Adventure. And of course that means I'm going to be spoiler free here. Now, throughout the course of this adventure, we got to know the players a little better. Blade has a rivalry. Yes, rivalry. It's the best way to describe it. With Ecolo, our dwarf. And Ecolo has a tendency to call our half-elf Blade a halfling. I told him at the table that this was more of an insult than he even meant it to be. Kind of fun. Now, here's the issue. Kiara was here for the money, although she is rather strange for a rogue, as in she's got a good heart. She's not lawful, I'd say she's more neutral, but she's got a good heart. Now she's here for the money, and everybody in the group just gave their share of whatever loot dropped, or was found, to her, money-wise. I mean, there was a magical sword at one point, and Ecolo took that because he was the fighter. The mages could have taken it, but didn't. We also found a couple of wands, various potions, and quite a substantial amount of gold. Since Kiara got all of it, apart from the reward money which was split for dealing with Black Fang at the end, Kiara had over 1,000 gold by the end of the first mission. She told me the player, who is a girl by the way, told me she wanted to buy a ranged weapon. I did say to her, since she has another character in a different section, that she has a fancy for guns. I told her she'd be able to buy a pistol, but she went with a longbow. Now, before the second adventure kicked off, we had 2 more players join, so we had a grand total of 6 party members. And this is where things started to get a little bit complicated for me, because I've never run more than 4. But it was relatively simple. We had Tay, a human barbarian, a rather, well, extremely strong character. Again, this party was becoming very melee focused. Then we had Penelope, a summoner from the Advanced Player's Guide, and a halfling. Now, before you start, Ander, yes, I did let a halfling into my party. I may be against halflings coming into it, but I have a system of letting the character run with what they want, if they can see a conceivable reason for it. Now, Penelope's Eidolon is a quadruped base. and she built it to be a rabbit. Monty Python reference here, anybody? Now, before the adventure began, I had these guys introduce themselves to the party. Get to know each other, understand why they're here and capabilities, so on and so forth. When the adventure started, I introduced my own NPC slash party member, who became a party member later on, by the name of Tuvelen, a human ranger. Now, he may be human, but he was raised by elves. That's why he has a slightly elvish sounding name. As far as I can tell, anyway. Wood elves, again, so, ranger. The party at this point were level 2, so everybody had some nice, fun new upgrades they went through and looked at. More spells for our casters. Tuvelen introduced himself and explained that one of the outlying farms in the area they were in, Sandpoint is the name of the town, in the beginner's box, and I'm running from there. The far eastern farm was being destroyed slash taken over by an ogre by the name of Pigtongue. Everyone was a little bit skeptical at first since they didn't know this guy, but in the end they believed him and went after. No, not went after. Followed him into the wilds to go deal with it. Now, Tuvelen explained that he had tried to deal with Pigtongue by himself before. However, due to the fact that Pigtongue had several boars, hence the name Pigtongue, as his pets, things went rather badly for him at the first try. So, with a group of 7 people, Tuvelen believed that the ogre would be able to be made short work of. And it was. Okay, it definitely was. One round of combat and that ogre was dead, with 7 people fighting it. Even now, not in a surprise round, if the initiative was good enough, no one could get hurt. That's how it went down. We dealt with the boars first. Now, the combat with the boars went a little bit differently than I was expecting. Since Penelope, who has a love of animals, she likes her animals. She's got a rabbit as an summon idola, for pity's sake. I let that go because it was funny. Monty Python kill a rabbit, anyone? She was trying to find out if the boars were friendly. So whenever it came around to her turn, she would standing there with her hand out to the boars to see if they would come over and be nice. Granted, that could happen, but Blade started combat with them by setting one of them on fire. Now, Kiara at this point rolled a crit, and she rolled a 6 on damage. So when the critical confirmed with that longbow she bought, she reduced the boar to 0 wounds. 0 wounds is enough to kill something outright. As for these guys, since they're beginners. I mean, I've got one player in there who's got more experience than the rest. That's Barbarian Tay. So, everybody just looked at her in character as like, awesome shot. If you will. A rogue with a naturally high dexterity using a bow. She's not wanting to get in close range. Can't use the backstab so often, but hey, who needs a sneak attack all the time? The combat took 2 rounds of fighting, with various burny spells being thrown off by our mage and our cleric, who took the domain of fire and glory, I might add. Everybody got round to killing a boar. There were 6 boars in all. It wasn't short combat. I'm not going to bore you guys with the details of how everybody took a swing with a weapon and killed something. because that's how it went, really, if you think about it. And then good RP starts to come about. Someone mentioned cooking the boar. Cooking a boar, grabbing one of the best boars and making something to eat out of it. Everyone had a bit of a conversation whilst the food was being on. Tuvelin mentioned that it was possible to draw the ogre out in such a fashion. A trap and ambush. Which worked surprisingly well, since Kiara and Tuvelin got a shot off each at the ogre, and Nicolo, in typical fashion that is becoming very lucky for him, on every final mob I've ever thrown at him so far, he rolls a natural 20 and confirms a critical and just wipes the floor with it. He did the same thing during Black Fang's dungeon against the final mob in there. He has been classified as the luckiest dwarf alive. I even tried to do a little luck test with him in a gamble, an item gamble, and he basically outshined himself. He got better items back from the item gamble. It was crazy. He just rolls so well. He's so damn lucky. Now, a couple of different points I will mention. At one point, before I ran the second adventure, Blade went off and had a side quest where he ran into a bunch of monster traders slash slavers who had a Lamia in a cage. Now Blade, what does he do? He burning hands into the fire, the campfire that they have, and it explodes. The campfire explodes, erupts in a massive torrent of fire, killing some of them nearby slavers, leaving their leader alive. He then frees the Lamia, tells her to run, and he has a crush on the Lamia too, I might add. Now, I'm a little bit worried about how I'm running a romantic interest with a player, with a monster-based character. I mean, it could be doable in its own right. I don't know. A final thing I should mention is the equipment people have come across. Nicolo has got a dwarven shocking a +1 dwarven shock war axe, as well as a +1 dragon slaying longsword. Blade has a +1 flaming longsword. Taya's got hold of a +1 icy greatsword. Wasn't sure if it was icy burst or just normal icy. We also have a +1 thundering greatbow, which is sonic damage for all those out there who don't understand that. And a cloak of concealment for Kira. Penelope got herself a wand of summon creature. She bomped Rodigan, our cleric, over the head with it, wondering how a halfling could have done that, right? I think Rodigan would have been dug down trying to talk to her, and she bomped him on the head with it. She thought it was just a stick. An awesome stick of hitting people. Instead, I had a random roll, and a bat pops out of Rodigan's head. It sat on his head. Just sat there. It then flies off and lands on Penelope's shoulder. She's got herself a nice little secondary pet, if you will. It was funny. The group I'm with are very focused on the RP. They're not so much on the combat aspects, but their RP is absolutely brilliant. As a dungeon master, a games master, whatever you want to call yourself, seeing these guys roleplay just makes me feel so great. I mean, I've set them up, they RP out how things go, and their characters react to everything I throw at them. And they react to each other as well. They are so brilliant. It's so... If I could live off RP, that would have fed me for a month. of the last 2 sessions I've run. I would have been sustained on roleplay goodness. When a DM gets like that, you just know the players are good. Oh, speaking of the RP, Kiara has left the group. Left the group? Exactly. Why would she do that? That's something in her background. I'm not sure as to why, since she hasn't told me yet. And it's good to find out things as the things progress as well, wouldn't you say? I think Rodigan likes her. Cleric. We all know what clerics can't do. At least he's not a monk. Chevelin liked her as well, but he wasn't going to do anything. It was pointed out to me that Tay liked Kiara as well. Was trying to get in her pants from the way he was acting. Yes, keyword trying. She kept herself a distance away. Right, well, until I have more information for you guys on another episode, I shall say ta-ta, and watch out for dragons.